Looking for reliable and convenient personal safety products? Less Lethal has you covered. As Canada's only authorized Byrna distributor, we provide a range of products for recreation, protection, and security. Explore our Byrna launcher lineup, including the LE, SD, TCR, and Mission 4, designed for different levels of performance and protection needs. We also offer the Banshee personal safety alarm, designed to protect children, women, and vulnerable individuals. Because your safety is our top priority. Shop now at lesslethal.ca.
Well, the East Coast tour continues, and I'm lucky enough today to have Dr. Wade Locke, and I'm going to call you Wade. I think if that's okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so, and I'm going to toot your horn for a minute, so because I think it's important for the viewers to sort of understand who you are across the nation. You're a PhD in economics. Yes. And basically, you received many scholarships along the years, and you ended up teaching at the Memorial University.
Yes.
Yeah, and you headed up the Department of Economics.
I did.
Now, you started out, help me a little bit, you started out in biology when you started school, so you had a keen interest in biology at some point?
I did. I did biology, and then when I finished biology, my biology degree, a lot of young people had come into the biological sector because of the 200-mile limit, and there wasn't a lot of jobs available, even with a master's in science at that point in time.
Okay.
So I said, well, I can see what can I combine with biology. It was fisheries economics was an obvious one. Environmental engineering was another one, and some kind of business and biology of some type or another. And I did some economics courses, and I did well in them, and I liked them. It was surprisingly that I did like them, but I did like them. and then from there on in, I just finished my BA and my master's and my PhD in economics. Oh,
good for you. And you and I have something in common there, right? Because I'm a CPA by trade. I started off, I got my BCom, and I minored in econometrics. So I love.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah, I love economics. So too, like you. Mm. And the only reason I ended up becoming an accountant was my mother. My mother wanted me to be an accountant, and she kept signing up to companies for me to join. So I ended up going that way. But yeah.
What happened for me was that the head of the Department of Economics suggested I meet somebody from McMaster who was coming down recruiting people.
Yeah.
And he said, well, we pay people to go to school. And I thought, what a novel idea. They pay you to go to school. It was scholarships, but so I thought, well, that would be an interesting thing. And we went there and never looked back since.
Yeah, beautiful university. For those of you who've never been there, McMaster, yeah. Yes. So I grew up, my dad drove a truck, and quite frankly, he had trucks. So we used to go back and forth in and out of McMaster on deliveries all the time. Okay. And we had a yard close by where we stored trucks, and it's pretty cool. So yeah, I know that area really well. Yeah. And great place to go to university.
That was a great experience for me. I learned a lot.
Yeah. And where are you originally from?
I'm from a mining town in the center of Newfoundland called Buckens. Okay. And getting a job back here at Memorial, I thought was a great thing. I thought, well, how lucky am I?
Yeah. And a good experience, right? So you left, went away, learned a lot, and then came back, and then you got to apply what you learned here.
I did, yes.
Yeah. And now, now is looking, your primary focus, at the end of your career and now has been kind of petroeconomics and public finance, I guess, really.
Really, public finance, yes. Yeah. And energy economics, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's all about, I guess, Wade, I was thinking about it coming into today, and to me, it's kind of like a ball of wax where the province is right now. As we started the show, we started talking about debt. And to me, it's kind of trying to figure out as Newfoundland and Labrador try to figure out, the go forward path. It's really trying to find how to capitalize on, the oil and gas reserves and the mineral reserves, because it is rich, right? It's rich. It's isolated, but it's very rich, right?
We have quite a few resources in for capita terms, and we're quite affluent in that respect.
Yeah. And it's in, debt-wise, we were, as we started the show, I think last year was like $688 million in debt, right? And
for Newfoundland?
Yeah.
Last year we had this past budget was over 20.2 20.6 or something billion.
Oh, in total, in total net debt.
Net debt.
Yeah, it's a lot, right? So
It's in per capita terms, we're the highest in the country.
yeah,
We're the highest in the country in terms of debt servicing. We're the highest in the country in terms of cost of debt. So all of those things are negative.
right.
And that's been built up over a number of years. Ever since we joined Confederation, in the war years, Newfoundland did well because of its strategic position and bases that were here.
Right.
So lots of employment during the war years, and there was a big demand for our goods and services at that point in time as well. But when we joined Confederation, and we had our 75th anniversary recently, there was a deficit for every year except for about 10. And 6 of those were because of oil came on faster than they could spend it. And 4 were basically federal government transfers to the province that made the difference.
Okay. Well, and so now, with the Lower Churchill coming and some really good news, hopefully tomorrow, right? We hope to start to see the tide turn, right? Because, every time, I've been coming here for about 18 years. Every year I have a couple of good friends here. I come down, I spend time with them, and, we just enjoy. They come up to Toronto, they stay at our house, and we go back and forth. And I always think to myself when I come here, I think, the opportunities, right? Between the Atlantic Ocean, between the offshore drilling, between all the minerals, and now all of a sudden the hydroelectric deal. This hydroelectric deal has kind of been it's been a little bit of a lead weight around the province's neck for a long time, because it was signed in 1969, and it basically was underwhelming, I guess to say, right?
It froze nominal prices at a very, very low level, and after that, OPEC crisis started, and prices of energy went up significantly.
Right.
And the province wasn't in a position to take advantage of that because of the contract.
Yes.
And people have a resentment about that somehow they were treated unfairly because of the nature of the contract. And in the new contracts that they're trying to negotiate now with Quebec, they're hoping to resolve some of those issues in terms of a fairer treatment of resources in terms of prices.
Right. And the MOU came out, right?
Yes.
So we got a little bit of a glimpse. Tomorrow we're going to get, I guess, a full set. And I think, you had some comments I read through your bio and things coming into it. They called Dr. Locke's litmus test, I guess, let's call it, right? And, one of the key issues at that point was cost overruns, right?
Yes.
You basically said, listen, the province can't bear the brunt of the cost overruns.
Right.
Yeah. And I think the second one really was debt, right? How much debt you'd have to assume as a province, which is about $18 billion.
That was on the original, not the original, but the most recent MOU, yes.
Yeah. So it's a lot of debt to absorb for considering the net debt to the province right now is about $20 billion.
That's correct.
And then you'd have to take a capital kind of debt of about 18 more billion. That's a tough nut to crack if you can't figure out how to cover it, right?
If the prices are not what you expect them to be,
Yeah.
if they're lower than you expect them to be, then carrying that additional debt would be a significant problem for the province.
Yeah. Which quite frankly, it'll create some jobs, which is great.
Yeah.
There'll be some spin-offs, but that much debt would be hard to be almost overwhelming at that point.
That's why it's important that they've got the deal correct this time.
Yeah.
And if they have the deal correct, then what will happen is that the value of the asset and the value of the debt will match each other off, and there will be no real big net debt increase. But if the revenue they're expecting from the project turns out to be less than what they're expecting,
Right.
that can create a big problem for you in terms of debt. Yes.
Well, and it's interesting because they were kind of giving it some valuations, which I thought was really interesting, and I was kind of surprised. Well, not surprised, but I was like, wow, that's a huge number. So they're kind of pushing the number out there that the value is about $225 billion.
Right.
So I guess that's over. I didn't really get where
I think it's over 50 years.
Is that 50 years? Yeah. And so that'd be kind of a 30-fold benefit from what the existing deal is, kind of if they roughly that's the numbers they're throwing out. And they were saying that it would right now the province produces about 5,000 megawatts of power, right?
Okay, yeah.
So that's kind of where they're at. So I was trying to get my head around. Okay, so if they're going to increase that substantially, and that's going to go up multiple times, 30-fold. That's a lot of power, right? Like that's a lot of power considering. And you probably know this better than me. I always kind of use it as a benchmark in my mind, between 500 to 1,000 megawatts for roughly 1,000 homes. So each megawatt is about 1,000 homes, right?
Okay.
That's roughly kind of how I.
And the power that they'll be producing will go through Quebec.
Yes.
A lot of it will go to Quebec.
Yeah.
Some of it will be used in mining activities in Labrador. Very little of it will come for domestic consumption here in the province because we don't have the in-feed capacity in terms of transmission capacity.
Okay.
So it is unlikely that much of it will go here. It's likely that some of it will facilitate mining activity in Labrador, new mining activity.
Okay.
And the province will get a substantial amount of revenue. I think the previous estimate was about 34 billion in net present value terms.
Okay.
So it was a significant number.
Yeah.
And
So
2 to 3 billion on an average basis over that 30-year period was the kinds of numbers they were thinking about at that point in time.
Okay. So it'll cover. So the good news is potentially this could offset the net debt. Like this could be a game changer for the province for a minute.
What we've said in recent publications is that it's potentially transformative.
Yes.
And what you hope is that when you get the money, you do something more productive with it than simply spend it on whatever is politically feasible at the time.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. We're when we do these East Coast trips, we sort of last time we started in Toronto and we came all the way here, and we hit Halifax, Montreal. We hit the whole straight. We stopped in the cities, did interviews from fashion designers to historians. It was really a good trip. We really enjoyed it, and this time we're starting here and going the other way. Okay. We're picking up our car. We couldn't get across on the ferry. The ferry is fully booked, so we had to kind of leave our car in Halifax, fly over. We wanted to meet you and a few other people, and transportation. One of the key issues right now is as we come in, we're seeing it like at some point as the province, and hopefully when the hydroelectric issue and the Lower Churchill gets resolved, maybe that's something that the province needs to sort of focus on is, okay, how do I get more people to come here? How do I get more people, because it's expensive, right? Like flights, transportation, getting here is challenging.
Even booking a rental cars are difficult at times.
Yes.
So you would think it would be easy to do, but it's not easy at all.
No.
That's why you need to book well in advance.
If we didn't have friends here, we'd be in trouble, right? Yeah. Because
So tourism, certainly in the summertime, makes Newfoundland quite popular. It's somewhat different than large parts of Canada, from a historical perspective as well as from a cultural perspective. And people do want to come and see some of the natural environments that are here. Oh yeah, it's beautiful, and it is nice. The weather can be a little more cooperative at times. Yeah. But it is all part of the experience. Yeah.
Well, we've been whale watching, so the whole thing. We came and, on our trips here because this is our second trip around. So, okay, tomorrow let's kind of crystal ball for me, you and I, because I'm kind of curious. Tomorrow happens. My guess is they've worked out some of the kinks from the MOU. So, because the MOU was kind of lukewarm, I thought it was interesting a little bit because the announcement seems to be coming out of Quebec into, Newfoundland and Labrador. And then I think we're going to see even the Prime Minister show up tomorrow to talk about this deal and the great things and the benefits, right?
Well, they've increased the amount of productive capacity is one of the things. And what you hear in the media, I haven't seen the agreement, so we'll know that tomorrow, I guess. Yeah. When you look at the things in the media, it looks like they're able to export power through Quebec to New England or wherever they export to, Ontario or whatever those places are available to them. And that will make a difference in terms of the revenue they get.
Right.
That'll be tied to market values, and that'll be important for them.
Yeah. So you've been studying the economics of energy
Yes.
for a long time. So I find this interesting because we're going to Montreal, and on the way back we're going to hit a hydroelectric power plant.
Okay.
It's the one that 40 minutes outside of downtown Montreal. The name escapes me, but it's the second biggest one. There's 6 big hydroelectric power plants, kind of that I call it, do a smile around Quebec.
Yeah.
The ones I can think of. Our next trip, I want to get up to James Bay and actually do the tour of that one. I've never been, so
Yeah, that's big. Yeah.
I'd love to see it because I hear it's phenomenal. So the power comes, so the power, help me out a little, because the power is going to, as you mentioned, is going to be transmitted from here.
Yes.
Right? It's going to go up into Quebec.
Yeah.
And then they're going to figure out where they're going to distribute across Canada into the U.S. What's the...
Well, we have we're entitled, Newfoundland is entitled to a certain amount of power.
Yes.
And I understand that's gone up from the MOU. And the biggest issue in the previous MOU was that if Newfoundland couldn't use the power, Quebec would buy it.
Okay.
So there wasn't an opportunity to export it through Quebec to New England or New York or Vermont or wherever they go to.
So they can sell it independently. Sell it to a third party.
Yeah, that's my understanding as one of the positive things that have come out of the new agreement.
Oh, good. Okay.
We'll see that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things they talk about or have talked about.
Good.
Right. I think the price is more or less the same as it was before.
Yes.
And they're going to get some additional renewable energy as part of this deal, and I think Muskrat Falls will be used for additional power as well.
Mm-hmm. I heard that. Yeah.
All those things are good things for the people that are living here, and good things for people in Quebec as well, because Quebec's been adversely affected by the drought in terms of their ability to produce their own electricity.
Yes.
And meet their commitments to other places like New England or wherever they export to as well.
Yeah.
Right. So this is good for Quebec and it's good for Newfoundland as well.
Yeah, I really do think it is. It's interesting because I always marvel at, in 1970, and this is in Quebec, how someone had the foresight to actually spend that $1.7 billion to start building those hydroelectric,
Yes.
plants. And I think to myself, wow, back then, the actual foresight to do that is pretty cool if you think about it.
There's a lot of very smart strategic thinkers in Hydro-Quebec.
Yes.
And every decision you see them being made seems to be a very positive decision that they made in terms of their own well-being.
Yeah. Yeah, they were here, right? They really thought it through, the foresight with which they did it. Because, the reception at that point couldn't have been good, right? Because, to go raise $1.7 billion on the marketplace to tell people you're going to do hydroelectric power.
Yes.
Must have been a little bit eye-catching, right, in those days. People must have been
imagine there was a lot of surprise faces, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's interesting how it's turned out, and yeah, I'm hoping, quite frankly, the positive results again, for here.
Oh, I think if things are transpire as their people are suggesting now in the media, then yes, it will be very positive for here.
So
it'll be another positive component of the province. We have other energies as well in terms of offshore oil and gas.
Mm-hmm.
We have plenty of natural gas, but no real market for it at this point in time. But
yeah, it's a shame.
But that can be developed as well over time. We have mineral resources that are positive, and technology seems to be doing quite well here as well.
Yeah. So and Norway's here now. So Equinor is here.
They're just down the street here. Yeah.
Yeah. So Equinor. I do quite a few shows on Equinor. And and Norway, and the 1980 decision to actually leave Petro-Canada and go, and the actual, I call it the Canadian divide, where we made one decision to go left and Norway went right, basically, and created this magnificent wealth fund that's it now changes the direction of even the United States from an investment perspective, right?
That's why when we talked about hydro being a potentially transformative, that's what we mean, right? I mean, the issue comes down to that it is easy to spend money when you have new money coming in. And what happens is that your expenditure wants tend to increase with your revenue capability.
Right.
And then if the revenue capability doesn't keep up, your expenditure wants don't fall back.
Yeah.
And that's how you get yourself in trouble in terms of debt. So this additional revenue from the deal has the potential to allow Newfoundland to become a much more prosperous province than it has been recently.
Well, and also productivity. You know, you think about it. I was talking to a friend of mine last night over dinner, and I said, you know what, this deal gets done. Quite frankly, a lot of people, and you've been through, you've seen it. You live here. I'm not telling you something you don't know, but you know, back, I'd say, you know, from a decade ago, I used to get on a plane and I used to meet lots of people from Atlantic Canada who are going west.
Yes.
And I used to, young people, right? And I used to think to myself, okay, they're, you know, and they'd be like, no, I'm going out to the oil fields.
Yep.
You know, and I'll when I make enough money or
come back and buy a house.
Yeah, exactly, right? And they used to go work hard and they used to come back. And I always, you know, I'm always amazed at the skill sets of people from Atlantic Canada. And I think it has to do with, and I did this show in PEI where I said the resilience of the people is the amazing part to me, because they know how to they've learned how to live off the land. They've learned to work with their hands, work with their brains, be mechanically inclined, and also be technically inclined. Again, I think that's a really, in this environment, in today's environment, I think that's really cool, right?
It's always going to be important, because no matter how important AI is,
yes,
you're still going to need someone to turn your bolts or screw your screws, and
the intuition to make that decision on it, whether it's a quarter more turn or a half more turn, right? Yeah. And so, but you know, I look at it now and I think to myself, the cool part about I think this decision is now those people hopefully don't need to go west. They can actually start to come back, and you know, now where they're going to live. And it's interesting because I was looking at the city on the flight in, and I was thinking to myself, you know, where is the city going to grow? Because now, you know, you're kind of you're at that bulging point a little bit, right? Where
you're seeing the housing market as well, right? I mean, regular houses, if you put them on for $500,000, they're not unusual to be, you know, $600,000 by the time it gets settled down.
Yeah,
it's a very hot housing market here.
Yeah,
and you're seeing offers like what's put down as the asking price is not the price that prevails at the end of the day.
Yeah, the supply-demand chain, right? So you got a lot more demand than you have supply.
That's correct. There's less inventory than needed to satisfy the market.
So then when this deal gets done, so the deal gets done tomorrow, and they start, you know, ramping up to get going, where are people going to live? So I was trying to figure that out. I was trying to do because again, you know, these are the economic challenges that you have, right? So now you have to figure out, did I build my, and city planning, did I build my infrastructure grid big enough? Do I have my power and my sewers? And, you know, so where do people go and are going to, so when people are coming back home, so
what you're likely to see is even more pressure on the housing market in terms of prices and rental markets as well. So that'll have implications for people in a low-income bracket as well, because there won't be the space at an affordable rate.
Right.
As you're even less of it now, right? But it'll get less as more activity occurs, right? So you've got the oil and gas sector going full steam. You've got energy going full steam.
Yes.
You've got people who need to. There are lots of construction activity going on as well. And so there'll be lots of people coming back to that.
Yeah.
The mining activity is such that there's going to be a big demand for people as well, both in the development and operation of those mining activities. So there's a number of those kind of things, and defense spending right here will have a big impact on Labrador for sure.
Yeah, I hear it. It's interesting you say that, because that's the other thing. When we travel through Atlantic Canada, when we started our trip, the first one we did, the amount of defense spending we noticed from Halifax all the way to here was jaw dropping.
Quite significant in Halifax for sure.
Yeah,
and New Brunswick as well.
Yes.
And the air base in Goose Bay is getting a substantial increase in infrastructure expenditure by the federal government as part of their initiative for Northern Defense. So, again, these are more people needed to do the construction, upgrade the infrastructure.
Are you feeling, so, you know, and this is kind of, it's not an economic indicator, but it's kind of do you notice it, like, you know, having, you know, lived in other places and you're back living here now, but do you notice people's attitude changing with what's happening now? Are you seeing the turn a little bit? Are people, I noticed that the reason I asked that is I went to Halifax when last trip we were in, and the premier, I sent him a note and I said, hey, I said, whatever you're doing, I said, I got to tell you, the people are happy here. I don't know what's going on here. I said, but, you know, good for you. It's the spending or whatever you've done policy-wise. I can notice it because I remember 15 years ago spending time on a project in Halifax, and they weren't that happy.
Yeah.
People weren't smiling, and they weren't kind of, you know, all cheerful. We are there now when we go through on this trip and previous trips. They're pretty happy. I'm like,
I think when you go to a restaurant, you'll notice that kind of enthusiasm and that kind of comfort, enthusiasm, and people seem to be happy.
Yeah.
And the thing about it now, what's going on now is that if you want a job, there's a job available for you. When you're talking about years ago when people used to go west, they still go west, but used to go west. Both my daughters are in Alberta as well, so I understand how that works. Yeah. But it wasn't an issue whether you'd go, but when you would go, because the amount of jobs that were here locally were mostly tied to government, but in fishing industry, but they weren't great jobs, and they weren't always available for the number of people that we had. Yeah.
But that's obviously hopefully going to be changing and more.
Yes, I think we can assume that it will change, and you should expect to see an increase in population occurring again.
Well, you know, it's interesting, and you know, the affordability and economic employment, all those things that are happening across Canada right now. Central Canada is slow. Like, I think, you know, it's slowed down quite a bit. The housing market is a debacle right now. Yeah. It's just a mess. So, you know, the more you talk to people in Central Canada right now, they're actually starting to look for options. And when young people come to me, because I have a couple of businesses in Central Canada, so at my age, I'm not going anywhere right now, but and they come to me and they say, what should we do? And I say, move. Yeah. Move. Like, you gotta, you know, unfortunately, and they say, well, maybe I don't want to move. I like it here. But I said, but, you know, you have to migrate to where work, you know, you have to do that. You might want to come back at some point when things are level out here, but you know, you really have to look at going somewhere else. And I think this is a great opportunity. I really do. Like, you know,
here is Alberta is as well. Alberta is doing quite well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mike, who's our partner in this company, he's actually just finished the West Coast tour, and he says the same thing. He says, you know, the funny thing, he says, he gets past, he gets out of Manitoba, and he said, everyone's working all the way to BC. He said, everyone's got jobs. Yeah. So he says it's busy. They're, you know, road work, highway work, construction, everything's kind of, you know, you can tell.
Well, people's satisfaction is tied to whether they can have a meaningful career, a meaningful job. Yes. And as long as you have that, a lot of things will fall in place for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and, you know, I think also, so, you know, we noticed, so, you know, immigration. So here, you know, is you're starting to see it. You saw more people come in. So as we're coming in, we see people from different countries as we're moving around. You know, that's been a good sign. You know, and when we were in Halifax, we were having a bunch of conversations with people who are new to Canada. Same thing. They're enjoying it. They're finding employment. You know, they're figuring out their way. I think it seems to be a positive experience right now.
Without a doubt. But again, right now, with the federal restrictions on immigration, it's having an impact on the growth rate of population here for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's, you know, and that was, again, you know, they're trying to figure out, as we're seeing in Central Canada, they're trying to figure out what to do with the rapid population growth and where people go. And, you know, I know Alberta, you know, the premier was saying yesterday or on Friday, you know, hey, when your work permit's up, you got to go, right? So, you know, they're trying to figure out how to balance it. And I'm like, I'm not sure. In my mind, I'm trying to figure out, okay, are we going to just say goodbye to, 100, 200, 300, 400,000 people and then try to bring more people back in when we have, I understand how challenging it is because it's trying to balance that load and the workload when things are going to happen. And that's when, like, when I see this announcement about the Lower Churchill, I'm thinking to myself, well, isn't this good news? Is there going to be more?
It is potentially good news, yes.
Yeah.
The other thing that we have here, and you have it in Ontario as well, is the aging population, right?
Yes.
So we have an aging population. There's a number of things. It changes the types of goods and services the government provides. It changes the cost of goods and services the government provides. So more healthcare, and as you get into the older age groups, the healthcare costs more.
Yeah.
And the amount of revenue obtained from people in terms of personal income taxes and those kind of things fall dramatically after you hit 65, right?
Yeah.
And so we have decreasing revenues, increasing costs, and already in a situation where you have high debt. So when you have a possibility of a new resource developments, if you have new resource developments and new jobs, people will come.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you have to hop on them, right? Because everyone's in the same boat almost across Canada. So
you see that in terms of doctors' availability and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Where things are prosperous, you have more doctors, and where things are not so prosperous, you have less doctors.
Yeah.
Right. Because when you're less prosperous, oftentimes you raise the taxes higher than people are comfortable paying, and that creates a reverse incentive for them for staying.
Yeah.
Right.
So they migrate to where it's better.
They go to where, So people are perfectly capable of doing their calculation of what I get after taxes here versus Alberta, for example.
Yeah.
Or Ontario, for that matter, as well.
Right. Well, that's true. Transportation, what do you think? I was curious to get your thoughts on it. Is the government sort of looking at it, or is there...
They are, but it's expensive, right? I mean, so the issue is right now that we're still running big deficits, right?
Yeah.
So their ability to fund these kinds of things runs straight in the face of the debt we have.
Yeah.
Debt servicing. So when the 2008, 2009, that period of time, we had a lot of money coming in, and we were able to lower our net debt. Since that time period, we've had less money coming in, and our net debt's gone up quite substantially. The debt servicing costs have gone up quite substantially as well. So it's harder to borrow, and the cost of borrowing has gone up. So when you get things like the arbitral agreements or other resource developments, mining, oil, or fisheries as well, those are positive things right now.
Yes.
The problem we got is that people are getting older, and the people with the skill sets that were used for different kinds of resources are not there anymore. And so we had to bring in new people, and you bring in new people, and you don't have the adequate infrastructure available to them for housing or for other things, then that just translates into higher costs.
Yeah. It's a vicious circle, right?
It is.
We know, we know we need better transportation and better connection.
Yes.
But where do you find the money to do it? And, you got to get the projects going to make that happen. And
yes,
I see it. The funny thing, I think you do too, and everyone I'm talking to, we see that it's coming around. It's just when and how.
Timing is important, yes.
Yeah, who's going to kind of connect the dots and how that's the key right now.
That's where leadership's important, right?
Yeah.
So leadership is one thing to manage when you have a lot of money. It's another thing to manage when you have less money.
Yeah.
And what you hope is that people have strategic vision about where they want things to go to, not simply the next 3 or 4 years, because their political cycle is 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's always the challenge. And when they have a 4-year election cycle, it's always tough to figure all that out. But,
it is, and what you don't hear is a clamoring for people to say, let's get the debt under control, because they're okay with, they're not going bankrupt. Right? The issue is debt servicing will go up and debt costs will go up, but no one is saying, hey, don't do this.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you always hear the argument, where our debt to GDP from a country perspective is fine or better than European countries,
Right.
and I'm like, that's not a good argument.
No, it's not a good argument. And the problem, part of the problem is that there's no clear indicator when you have a debt problem. You can look at debt to GDP, you can look at debt servicing costs, you can look at a number of things per capita debt.
Yeah.
And if you got enough of these things together, you can say, okay, I now realize I have a problem. But it's not a matter you've gone from 10% to 11%, and now you got a problem.
Yeah.
It's accumulation of all kinds of things together. They say, hey, we can no longer afford this kind of stuff. But how do you stop it? How do you, your revenue is sort of well determined. You have a better sense of what your revenue is going to be. And your expenditures, we know what happens if they cut expenditures.
Yeah.
People who are affected by it are the people, they know exactly they're being affected by it.
Oh, yeah.
And
they vote.
Then there's political ramifications of that.
Yeah.
So it's hard for any party to decide this is what we're going to do, because it's not hard to balance a budget. It's hard to balance a budget without destroying people's lives.
Yes.
Right? That's the difference. I mean,
yeah.
you being an accountant can work with a spreadsheet and say, okay, well, if I need more revenue or I have less revenue, I can reduce my cost by this amount. But doing that has implications.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting. We just did a show. It's an interesting show. It was basically, we took a look at Bill 2 in Quebec on the healthcare, and we kind of same thing. We said, listen, here's a case study of what might have been some good things, but quite frankly turned out to be a really bad political ending, for the premier at the time, Premier Legault and Minister Dubé. And it's a shame, because I think if you looked at it, it was the wrong approach. But the actual contents of the bill, when you dissect it and pull it apart, they had some good ideas, right? And we're like, but just the wrong approach. They were too fast. And they didn't have buy-in. They didn't have the physicians' buy-ins. They tried to change compensation schemes. So the economics on it probably worked, right? Probably when they got to the end, the structure of the New Deal probably worked. The problem is the approach and the timeliness of it wasn't there, and therefore they failed at it. And that was the camel that broke, the straw that broke the camel's back.
And you need to have planning and appropriate consultation as well. If you're going to get, it's one thing to say you can do these things, and another thing is to be able to feasibly do them politically as well. We have to be cognizant of that, because we're not. Yeah. You can propose any plans you want and justify them with your own spreadsheets.
Yeah.
But again, if it doesn't make sense from a political perspective, it won't get done.
I know. Wade, I got to ask you, are you going to be there tomorrow to watch the Prime Minister? I don't even know if we can get invited, but listen, I think you should be there for sure, because you understand this better than
we'll watch it for sure.
Yeah.
No, it may indeed be a transformative time period for the province.
I hope
hopefully
it will.
Hopefully it is. Yeah.
I hope it will.
Well, I mean, the amount of money involved allows them to do some things that they otherwise couldn't do, like your transportation or education, right, or healthcare.
Yeah. Because to your point, these are all things. I'm looking forward to it. I hope we get an opportunity to go ourselves, because I'd like to go listen in firsthand. Very curious to see what the announcement is, and I'm very optimistic that it's going to be a good thing. So, fingers crossed.
Me too. Yeah.
Well, thank you for taking the time today, and I really appreciate you coming by.
Thank you.
All the best.
Bye.